The Zach Wilson experiment
All right, the Denver Broncos know exactly what they're doing with Zach Wilson.
is officially over. It had its downs and it had, well, yeah, just some downs. It was a complete disaster, and the
Where's Zach Wilson go?
Pick
He went to BYU.
and hopeful Jets savior is now a Bronco. He is, by every measure, a bust. Wilson just wasn't good enough, and it didn't take very long to figure that out. But his career isn't
Wow, I already got a headache, bro.
over
Like, oh
just
my god,
yet.
bro.
It's rare for a player to fail and then change that narrative later on in their career. But Wilson has the chance to do just that in Denver. The Monday before the 2024 NFL Draft, Zach Wilson was traded off to the Broncos.
Bro, Denver's not gonna start Bo Nix out the gate. If like, bro, I just see this season going really bad for Denver. I just feel like it's gonna be like a fucking like every other fucking Denver year where they don't know who their quarterback is, bro. It's gonna be both the quarterbacks going in and out the game, bro. Bo Nix gets one game, he's off to a hot start for the first 3 games. Then he has a bad game. Then they throw Zach Wilson in there, and it's gonna be going back and forth the whole season,
Along with
bro.
a 7th round pick for a 6th.
Or they might just sit Bo Nix for the whole season.
Basically, the 2nd overall pick.
Like I'm a big like fan of like sitting your quarterback for his rookie year. Just let him sit back. Like, no, just understand the offense. Like, you see the mistakes on the field that the other quarterback's doing, you know how to fix it because you're on the sideline.
Traded to move up 53 spots in the 200s at the draft. The Jets and Broncos are also splitting the $5.5 million that Wilson is owed this upcoming season. It definitely makes sense why the Broncos would trade for another quarterback. Currently, Denver's quarterback room is trash. Russell Wilson got released at the start of the new league year after 2 seasons with the Broncos. He was actually benched for the last 2 games of the 2023 season for Jarrett Stidham, who, if the season started today, would be the Broncos QB1. Pre-draft, that's really the guy that Zach Wilson would have to beat out in order to be the starter in Denver. Wilson is actually the much more experienced of the two though, but regardless, it's not a pretty situation either way. Stidham has started 4 games, 2 with the Raiders in 2022 and 2 with the Broncos in 2023. He's thrown 8 touchdowns to 8 interceptions in his entire career. Then there's Zach Wilson, who did start 33 games in New York and had 23 touchdowns to 25 interceptions. There is also a 3rd quarterback in Denver too, Ben DiNucci. He started a game in 2020 for Dallas and was on the Broncos practice squad last year. There is probably going to be some kind of quarterback competition in camp, and I do think that will include another quarterback from the draft. Maybe Denver stays at 12 and
like, how the fuck does Denver just like, bro, ever since Peyton Manning left, they haven't done shit with their quarterback room, bro. They haven't done nothing, bro. Like, Russell Wilson's the only good piece, and they benched him in the last 2 games. That just shows how stupid this organization is, bro. They was trying to, like, finesse him and shit out of his money. Anyways, this organization is fucking trash. I don't understand how it's still an NFL team. I don't know how the fuck the fans support them still in Denver, bro. Like, bro, this team is fucking ass, bro. When it's been constantly ass. So how the fuck does this organization stay alive? How the fuck does the ownership still stay as the fucking owners, bro? Like, how does the fans, like, still support this shit, bro?
And I do think that will include another quarterback.
Who the fuck is good on this team?
Maybe Denver stays at 12 and takes their favorite quarterback left on the board. Or they just go with the guy later in the draft. But I do think they will at least take one quarterback in the draft, no matter what round that is.
Took Bo Nix at fucking 12, bro. How the fuck are they not throwing every first and second round pick they got to get a fucking Drake May or Jaden Daniels at least, bro? Trade all the way up, bro. Trade your fucking first round pick this year, second round pick this year, first round pick next year, second round pick next year. Get you a fucking quarterback that can actually produce on the field. Don't get fucking Bo Nix.
That is, unless Sean Payton really likes Zach
What has
Wilson.
ATL done? We went to the Super Bowl.
And I will say he is
We made
talented,
the playoffs
but
multiple
he just
times.
hasn't translated
We have
well
key
to the
players.
Like, at all. I think the writing has
Who the
been
fuck is on the
wall for Zach
Broncos?
Wilson in New York for a while now. He was definitely going to have a future somewhere else. That wasn't in question.
Bo Nix is not their franchise quarterback for the next decade. He won't last 5 years.
He's destined to be cut if the Broncos never traded for him.
Especially on the
Jets
Denver
have their
Broncos.
future quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Not sure just how long that future stems out, but
That's
he is the
Surtain's
future,
good.
at least for now. He tore his Achilles
Come on,
last
bro.
year in week 1, and
Come on, bro.
essentially
My
left
team
Wilson as
got
the
Pro
main
Bowlers.
quarterback. He'll be back, or should be back, very soon. The Jets did also kind of put everything
They have a
with Zach
PS2?
Wilson to rest in the offseason
Well, shit, the
when they
PS5
signed
came out.
Tyrod Taylor to a 2-year deal. He's been in the league since 2011 and started 58 games with
Thermal Blitz
65
Tyrod.
touchdowns to 29 interceptions. If the Jets need someone to start in case Rodgers goes down again, he's capable. I do also think it's possible that the Jets take a quarterback at the draft, but it'll probably be later on. There are only 2 guys on the roster right now, and they could definitely
my
use a
head is
third.
hurting, bro. Like,
Ideally, really
I'm
a young
getting too
developmental guy that isn't
angry,
named
bro.
Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson came into the league with high expectations as
We're
the
talking
number
about
2
Zach
pick,
Wilson,
and he
bro.
was
He's
even a
fucking
good
ass, bro.
recruit in the 2018 quarterback
He was
class.
never good,
but he was
bro.
far from
He was
the
picked
top.
number 2
Wilson was
because
a
he was overrated,
3-star
bro.
and the 38th ranked quarterback in the class. He elected to stay near home and go to
Stupid
BYU
ass.
and made 7 starts as a true
Play that
freshman.
fucking
Wilson
BYU,
showed some
bro.
promise with 12 touchdowns to 3
Fucking Catholic
interceptions and
college.
2 rushing touchdowns. But he actually declined the following year while starting 9 games with 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions and 3 rushing touchdowns. Through his first 2 years in college, Zach Wilson wasn't exactly anything too special. Then, in just
Wow,
one
really?
year, everything changed. He had a crazy breakout season
One
and even
fucking
broke
year.
Steve Young's single-season completion percentage record at 73.5.
Talking
He
about
threw for
completion
about
percentage.
3,700 yards and 33
I
touchdowns
love Bo
with
Nix.
only 3 interceptions. And he
Nice.
rushed for 10 touchdowns too. It was a huge year for BYU. The Cougars went 11-1 with their lone loss coming to number 18 Coastal Carolina. BYU got as high as
Coastal
number 8 in
Carolina.
the country and went on to win the Boca Raton Bowl over UCF
Dude,
and
good
Dillon
fucking
Gabriel
logo.
49-23. Zach Wilson showed out in his final college game with 425 yards and 3 touchdowns, while his running back Tyler
fucking
Algier
trash,
went
bro.
for 173 yards.
Tyler
and a
Algier
touchdown.
carried him.
Washington's 7th round pick Dax
That'd be
Milne was
Falcon.
on that team as well, as
7th
was
round
Brady
pick.
Christensen
He almost
and
went
Blake
undrafted.
Freeland, both playing offensive line in the NFL. Also worth noting that Zach Wilson actually spent all 3 years at BYU with Jaron Hall too, who then went on to start the 2 seasons after Wilson was drafted and was a Vikings 5th round pick last year. When we look back at Zach Wilson in college, you can't help but think that he's just a 1-year wonder. He really wasn't on anyone's radar before his
Thank you.
last season, but then he exploded and his pro day only continued to raise his stock. He was throwing bombs and quickly rose to the potential 2nd quarterback in the class behind Trevor Lawrence, and that's exactly what happened. The Jets took him at 2 and the rest is history. Looking back though, that 2021 quarterback class is straight ass. Trevor Lawrence has shown some great glimpses
Justin
and is,
Fields
yes,
and Trevor
probably the
Lawrence.
franchise quarterback for the Jaguars, but it's ugly after him. Trey Lance went 3rd overall and just couldn't
He's
stay
backing up
healthy
that
and got
ground.
shipped off to the Cowboys after just 4 career starts. Justin Fields went to the Bears at 11, and he's had his moments for sure, but now he's the expected backup for the Steelers after getting traded. Finally,
Backup is
there's
crazy.
Mac Jones. His rookie season was great, but it's
God
never been the same.
damn.
The former 15th overall
Mac
pick
Jones?
was just traded away to the Jaguars.
What
Yes,
happened?
Zach Wilson is a bust, but that whole 2021 quarterback class is just awful looking back, and he unfortunately is the poster child.
It's like Trevor Lawrence ain't that good. Like, yes, he's the franchise quarterback, but like, he hasn't gave him much else to be happy for. And then you got Justin Fields. You know his situation now, and it's like everybody else is ass, bro.
Wilson was named the Week 1 starter and didn't
Yes.
play too bad at all in his NFL debut. The next week was a different story, though. He threw 4 interceptions, including on his first 2 passes
Jesus.
against the Patriots in Week 2. The Jets followed it up with a 26-0 loss the next week before
Lost
he
to the Denver
finally got a
Broncos,
win in
26-0.
Week 4 over the Titans. He was picked off in each of his first 5 games, joining legendary names like Deshaun Kaiser, Zach Mettenberger, and Blake Bortles.
Oh my god, why do I know all the Zach Mettenberger, LSU, Blake Bortles? Damn, where did Blake Bortles go to? I remember Zach Mettenberger at LSU. And then Deshaun Kaiser, Notre Dame.
Legendary names like Deshaun Kaiser,
Blake
Zach
Bortles?
Mettenberger, and Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles went to like
Wilson
SEC.
did suffer a sprained PCL in Week 7 and
What the fuck
missed
is a
4
PCL?
games, but he actually didn't throw a single pick in his final 5 games of the year, which was a big improvement. He finished
for
his
you,
rookie
man.
season going 3-10
Not
with
entirely
2,300
is.
yards and 9 touchdowns to 11 interceptions,
Don't be sad,
rushing for
bro.
4 touchdowns. There was hope for the 2022 season, but it started off rocky. Wilson suffered a meniscus tear in the preseason opener and couldn't play until Week 4. He was later involved in a lot of drama after a loss to the Patriots, where he went just 9 of 22 and didn't really take accountability for his poor play. That led to him being demoted all the way down to 3rd string behind Mike White and Joe Flacco. For the rest of his time in New York, it felt like he only
Mike
really
White.
started when the Jets had no other choice. He started 2 games after an injury to Mike White and got benched for Chris
Falcons got like 3 more years until they're gonna be a decent team, bro. They're going to the playoffs this year, bro.
Zach Wilson finished the year 5-4.
Like, go on FanDuel and bet that shit, bro. We're making it to the fucking playoffs this year.
7 interceptions with a rushing touchdown.
The
It was
Lulu,
clear that
you
he
don't think
wasn't
that.
the guy for the future, and the Jets decided to look elsewhere, trading for Aaron Rodgers from the Packers. Wilson was solidified as the backup, and it was time to move on, until Rodgers suffered that torn Achilles on his first drive as a Jet. Wilson then took over and had maybe the best game of his career against the Chiefs, with 245 yards and 2 touchdowns in a near
How many
comeback,
picks?
but it was still another bad year. He ended up behind Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian on the depth chart at one point. Wilson's season and ultimately career with the Jets ended with a concussion against the Dolphins. In his final year in East Rutherford, he went 4-7 with 2,300 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. The unfortunate reality is, Zach Wilson was never the guy for the Jets. There really was never a time when he looked like he was. Now, it's time for a fresh start. But by every measure, Zach Wilson is a bust.
Less than a week.
Bro. And the Denver Broncos gonna do, like, the Denver Broncos can never, like, when they have 2, like, mid quarterbacks, they can never settle on one guy. What they'll do is just play them back and forth, ping pong off each other, and none of them can catch a rhythm. They'll have, like, hot streaks for a couple games, but in reality, bro, they're not gonna know if they're gonna start Bo Nix day 1 or fucking Zach Wilson day 1 until day 1 gets here. Like, that's just the reality of it. Denver's a fucking terribly ran fucking, what's it called, franchise. I don't know how the fuck they continue to do that shit year in and year out.